If you ask 10 different investors what the best growth ETF is, you'll probably get 10 different answers. Some people swear by QQQM, others say SCHG is the best all-around choice, some prefer VUG because of its simplicity, while others like IWF because of its size and broad exposure. And lately, one ETF has been getting a lot more attention than most anyone expected, SPMO. The problem is, all 5 of these funds have delivered outstanding long-term returns, so if they're all good investments, how do you actually choose? After more than 20 years of investing, here's what I've learned. Choosing between great ETFs isn't really about finding the one with the highest return. It's about understanding how those returns are generated and deciding which strategy you can stick with for the next 20 or 30 years. So I decided to compare 5 of the most popular growth ETFs, not just by looking at performance or expense ratios, but by examining how they're built, how much risk they take, how concentrated they are, and which one I'd trust to build long-term wealth with. And something surprised me, because while SCHG has been one of my favorite growth ETFs for years, and I still own it today, I recently made another purchase that I honestly didn't expect to make. Today, I'll explain exactly why. Hi, I'm Greg Hardy, and welcome back to the channel, and thank you for being here. We cover all things personal finance, investing, and building a secure financial future. So if you're serious about taking control of your money and also learning something new every week, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really helps the channel and gets this information to more people who need it. Thank you. Before we compare these ETFs, I think it's important to address one of the biggest mistakes that investors make. Most people start by looking at a performance chart and immediately ask which one made the most money. That seems like the obvious place to start, but it can actually lead you to the wrong decision. Past performance tells you what happened, but it doesn't tell you why it happened, or whether you're comfortable sticking with that strategy when the market inevitably changes. The ETF that outperformed over the last 5 or 10 years isn't automatically the best choice for the next 20 or 30. Instead, I think the better question is, how does this ETF generate its returns? Because every one of these funds takes a different path. Some rely on broader diversification, while others are much more concentrated. Some focus on companies with long-term growth characteristics, while others emphasize recent market leadership. So as I rank these ETFs today, I'm not just looking at historical returns. I'm evaluating the strategy behind each fund, its diversification, concentration risk, methodology, consistency, turnover, cost, and most importantly, whether it's a strategy I could confidently hold through bull markets, bear markets, and everything in between. Because in the long run, the best ETF isn't necessarily the one with the highest return, it's the one you can stick with for decades. Today we're looking at SCHG, QQQM, VUG, IWF, and SPMO. On the surface, they all appear to be trying to accomplish the same thing: to help investors grow their wealth by investing in some of the market's fastest growing companies. And while you'll see many of the same names across these funds, like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Meta, they're actually built very differently. Some prioritize broad diversification, others are much more concentrated, and one uses an entirely different investment philosophy based on momentum. Those differences affect not only performance, but also risk, volatility, and how each fund is likely to behave over a full market cycle. So let's break them down one by one and see what makes each of them unique. Let's start with SCHG, because for years this has been my favorite growth ETF, and it's still the largest growth position in my portfolio today. SCHG tracks the Dow Jones U.S. Large Cap Growth Index, which selects companies based on factors like revenue growth, earnings growth, momentum, and other characteristics commonly associated with long-term growth. The result is a portfolio of more than 200 large cap companies, giving investors exposure to many of the biggest innovators in the market while remaining much more diversified than some of the other funds we'll discuss today. One of the things that I've always appreciated about SCHG is its simplicity. It has a very low expense ratio, relatively low turnover, and a straightforward rules-based methodology that doesn't constantly change based on what's popular at the moment. While tech does make up a significant portion of the portfolio, SCHG isn't simply making a bet on one sector or a handful of stocks. Instead, it spreads its exposure across a much broader group of high-quality growth companies, which helps reduce concentration risk while still providing excellent long-term growth potential. That's ultimately why I've been so comfortable owning SCHG for years. I know exactly what I own, understand how the fund is constructed, and I don't feel like I need to constantly monitor it or second-guess the strategy. For long-term investors, I think that's an underrated advantage. When you have confidence in your investment, it's much easier to stay invested through market corrections and downturns. And over time, that consistency is often far more valuable than trying to chase whichever ETF happened to perform the best last year. Next up is QQQM, and this is probably the ETF that gets compared to SCHG more than any other. QQQM tracks the NASDAQ 100 index, which consists of 100 of the largest non-financial companies listed on the NASDAQ exchange. Because many of the world's biggest tech companies trade on the NASDAQ, the fund naturally has a much heavier concentration in tech and communication services than other ETFs that we'll discuss today. Its largest holdings include companies like Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Meta, and Broadcom, and together those top positions make up a significant portion of the portfolio. That concentration has been a major reason QQQM has produced such impressive returns over the last decade as mega cap tech has dominated the market. But concentration cuts both ways. When those tech giants are leading the market, QQQM can outperform many other growth ETFs. However, if leadership shifts to other sectors, or those largest companies go through an extended period of underperformance, the fund can experience larger swings than a more diversified alternative like SCHG. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It simply comes down to what kind of investor you are. If you're comfortable making a bigger bet on large cap tech and can handle the added volatility that comes with it, QQQM can be an excellent long-term investment. But if you're looking for broader exposure with less dependence on a handful of companies, there may be better options as we continue through this comparison. The next two ETFs are VUG and IWF, and honestly, there's a lot to like about both of them. VUG tracks the CRSP US Large Cap Growth Index, while IWF follows the Russell 1000 Growth Index. Although they use different indexes and slightly different selection criteria, they end up looking remarkably similar in practice. Both provide broad exposure to large cap growth companies, both hold hundreds of stocks, both have relatively low turnover, and both own many of the same household names you'll find in SCHG and QQQM. For the average long-term investor, either one can serve as a solid core growth holding. The differences are fairly minor. VG generally has a lower expense ratio and is often viewed as a simple, low-cost option for investors who want broad growth exposure. IWF has been around longer, manages significantly more assets, and tracks a slightly different universe of growth stocks through the Russell methodology. But at the end of the day, I don't think either one is a bad choice. If you are already invested in VUG or IWF, I don't see a compelling reason to switch simply because another growth ETF has outperformed recently. They're both high-quality funds with proven track records, and over the long run, consistently staying invested will likely matter far more than the small differences between them. Now we get into the ETF that changed my thinking the most, SPMO. Unlike the other funds that we've discussed, SPMO doesn't simply look for companies with strong long-term growth characteristics. Instead, it follows a momentum strategy. It ranks the stocks in the S&P 500 based on their recent price performance and invests in those showing the strongest momentum. As leadership changes, the portfolio adjusts with it. Rather than buying yesterday's biggest companies, the goal is to own today's market leaders. I'll admit, for years I dismissed momentum investing. I assumed it was simply another way of chasing performance, and that's probably what many of you are thinking right now. My philosophy has always been to buy quality companies, stay diversified, and hold them for decades. A strategy that regularly changes its holdings based on market leadership didn't sound like something I wanted in my portfolio. But after spending months researching momentum investing, I realized I had misunderstood it. The more I learned, the more I discovered that momentum isn't just a recent trend. It's actually one of the most well-documented investment factors in academic research, with decades of evidence showing it has historically outperformed the broader market over long periods. Of course, that doesn't mean it wins every year. There are stretches where momentum struggles, and investors have to be willing to stick with the strategy even when it's temporarily underperforming. There are trade-offs as well. Because SPMO regularly updates its holdings, turnover is much higher than funds like SCHG or VUG. That can lead to greater volatility and larger swings when market leadership changes. But once I understood both the strengths and the risks, my perspective changed. I didn't replace SCHG, I still own it today. Instead, I recently added SPMO because I believe momentum is a proven strategy that complements my existing growth portfolio rather than replacing it. So why did I buy SPMO? First, let me be clear about something. I don't plan to sell SCHG, and it is still the foundation of my growth allocation because I believe it's one of the best diversified growth ETFs available. Adding SPMO wasn't about replacing something that was working, it was about complementing it with a different investment strategy. SCHG gives me broad exposure to high-quality growth companies, while SPMO gives me exposure to the momentum factor. Together, I think they provide a more complete approach than either fund does on its own. I also wanted to stress that this wasn't a decision based on recent performance. I'm not chasing whichever ETF happened to have the best returns over the last year. If that were my strategy, I'd probably be changing ETFs every few months. Instead, I added SPMO because I became convinced that momentum is a legitimate, rules-based investment factor with a long history of rewarding patient investors. Now, will it perform every year? Absolutely not. But I believe it deserves a place alongside SCHG in my portfolio, and that's why I recently decided to invest in it. So after comparing all five, here's how I'd rank them for my own portfolio. Number 1 is SCHG. It's been my favorite growth ETF for years because I think it offers the best balance of diversification, long-term growth potential, low costs, and consistency. Number 2 is SPMO. A year ago, I never would have put it this high, but after researching momentum investing, I came to appreciate the strategy much more. That's why I recently added it to my portfolio. Not to replace SCHG, but to complement it. Number 3 is VUG. It's an excellent low-cost growth ETF that's easy to recommend to almost anyone. Coming in at number 4 is QQQM. There's no question it's been an incredible performer, but its heavier concentration in a handful of mega-cap tech companies makes it a little riskier than I'd personally prefer. And finally, number 5 is IWF. That doesn't mean it's a bad ETF. In fact, I think it's an excellent fund with a long track record. The reality is these rankings are incredibly close, and I wouldn't tell someone to sell IWF just to buy one of the others. At the end of the day, I'd be comfortable owning any of these 5. I simply believe SCHG and SPMO best fit my own investing philosophy and long-term goals. At the end of the day, investing isn't about finding an ETF that's perfect, because one doesn't exist. Every fund has strengths, weaknesses, and periods where it will outperform or lag the others. The real goal is to understand the strategy behind what you're buying and make sure it aligns with your own investing style and risk tolerance. If you don't believe in the strategy, you're much more likely to abandon it when markets get tough. And that's when the biggest investing mistakes are usually made. For me, the best ETF isn't necessarily the one with the highest return. It's the one I can confidently keep buying through bull markets, bear markets, and everything in between for the next 20 or 30 years. That's how wealth is really built. Not by constantly searching for something better, but by staying consistent and letting compounding do the heavy lifting. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these growth ETFs do you own, and did this video change your opinion on any of them? Let me know down in the comments because I read every one. Now, if you found this video eye-opening, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. And if you want more practical, no-nonsense advice on building wealth and securing your financial future, then check out this video here. And also, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.